Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. Once a month on my channel, I set about creating some of my own paper crafting goodies. Today, I want to encourage you to get artful with some acrylic paint. I'm going to do a main project of altering up some washi tape, which should be very approachable, and then I have a little bit of a bonus for you on other ideas of using acrylic paint. So be sure to stick around for that. Let's go ahead and get started. Here is the washi tape that I'm going to use for this project. I don't have any washi tape that's completely plain, and that's likely the case for you. So I'm going to use this. Not all washi tapes are created equal. Some of them have a waxy coating to them, which is this kind. Some of them feel more papery, which is this one, which is a Tim Holtz one. A lot of the times when I've added product on top of washi tape, water-based product doesn't soak in and dry properly. So we need to talk about supplies that you can use to alter up your washi tape that will dry and hold. I have a few products off here and we'll go through each of them. These are Dina Wakley Media Gloss Sprays. They are an acrylic-based product that come in a spray format. I have a few of these colors. I pulled out the ones I could find, but a lot of you probably don't have this on hand. So what can you use instead? This is just plain old cheap craft store acrylic paint, and we can water this down with some water and create our own splatter from this. A third idea for you, many of you probably have some drop products. It might be a Stickles product. In this case, it's a Nuvo product. This one is their Jewel Drops, which has a more transparency to it. So I'm not sure how well this one will work. You might want something that's more opaque. So play around and experiment with what you have. We are also going to add water to this one to water it down so that we can use it as a splatter. But with something like this, you could just put actual drops onto your washi tape. It'll have more of a structured look to it instead of more of a free-form splatter look to it, but it is totally doable that way. How I'm going to start this project is by laying my washi tape out on some freezer paper. I want to use this both so that it will hold the washi tape flat and it will collect some of the mess, but I also have a splatter box that I'm going to use. So let's start with step one. Freezer paper has a waxy surface on one side and just a papery surface on the other side. I'm going to try this side first. So I'm hoping that the waxy side, plasticky side, more accurately, will do for this. I did try this on parchment, but parchment is more nonstick than freezer paper, and you can buy parchment paper, freezer paper, all in the grocery store aisle. You could also do this on scrap packaging. The tape will stick more to something like this, but it is totally usable this way as well if you don't have anything like this on hand and don't necessarily want to invest in something. You can try what you have at home. So I'm going to do a couple of pieces of this in both washi tapes so that I have some embellishments to work with throughout my kit. Okay, there was a reason I bought a magnetic glass surface, and this is one of them, so I pulled out my magnets and I'm going to use them. You could always use some extra washi tape to tape stuff down in the corner if yours is like mine and it wants to roll up on you. Let's start with the acrylic paint because you likely have some kind of bottle of paint sitting around in your craft life somewhere. Oop, and that one is globby. So in order to water this down, I do have a pot of water. I will also use this to rinse my brushes because if you don't clean your brushes out well when working with acrylic, they will crust up and become unusable. This one has some kind of gummy, because this paint is old, it's got some partially dried up gummy paint in there, so I'm just going to scrape that aside. And then to add some water to this, I'm just going to pick up some water with my paintbrush, paint a bit of water on the side, And then I will pick up a little bit of this paint and just start mixing until it has the consistency that I like. And that really is trial and error. I think I want a bigger puddle, so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go with that. So I want to protect the background of what I'm working on. I'm going to take my splatter box, and instead of putting everything inside my splatter box, I'm going to create a little bit of a stand behind what I'm doing so that it doesn't splash everything in the front. And if you want to hold up a piece of, this is just the back of a paper pack that I finished up. So I'm going to hold this up facing towards me. Don't know if that's showing up on camera at this point. And that's going to create a little bit of a barrier so I can start tapping this paint on here. And we have lots of colors to work with today. So I'm going to just put a little bit on and then come back and do, oop, now I've made a mess, and come back and do a little bit more with this color if I feel like I need more. Okay, I'm doing the same thing with my turquoise color. Now that my water is starting to get dirty, when I pick up that water, it may tint the mixture that I'm creating. So you may want a cup of clean water to work on your mixing, because otherwise it'll alter your color. But in a moment, we can purposefully mix them and get our own custom color. Some of this teal. All right, I'm going to clean that off and do the next color. Let's try our orange drops. The drops are definitely thicker than the paint. And like I said, this is a clear, kind of translucent drop, so I'm not feeling really confident that this will work. Maybe I can go back to my shelf and see if I have a more opaque version. But I'm going to try it anyway just to see what it looks like, because sometimes you do have to experiment. I still think that's too tacky. Sometimes you do have to experiment to know if something will or won't work. I did experiment with my Distress Oxide sprays on the washi tape, thinking that it might have more of a fixative quality to the oxide sprays, but they did not work. So that experiment was important to do. All right, here we go with these ones. And I can barely see them, so I'm sure you can probably barely see them as well. Since that didn't work, let's go ahead and do a few purposeful drops, like I mentioned earlier, just to see what we could get. And I'm going to try not to touch my tip into wet paint, but I will try to get more of a messy, random dots on here. Okay, with sprays, they have a built-in application, and I'm going to splatter with the tip of this, trying to keep the mess under control. And with this one, you could even touch some bigger drips if you want to get that color a little more prominent. I thought this one was going to be a little bit more purple, but it's turning out more pink. So what I did mention earlier is that we could mix our colors. So let's try and see what color we get if I mix just a tad of turquoise with a good amount of some pink. That may give us a little more turquoise. That may give us a purpley color. So I kind of like that. Do I like it more over here, actually? Maybe mixing more 1-to-1 ratio is giving me more of a purple tone that I like. So let's try some splatters with this. Maybe it needs a little more water because it's been sitting here drying out a little bit. Okay, my washi tape surface is starting to feel pretty full. If I add too much on top, stuff will start bleeding into each other, so I do want to be careful with that. If you dry in between layers, then you can add more and more to it. I'm not that patient, so I am just going to keep going. All right, I'm going to call that good. This needs to dry, so I have a space where I set things to dry. I'm going to move it over there, and I will come back and show you what it looks like when it's all set. All right, so here we are with the finished product. I think it came out really nice. Something that I didn't anticipate was that some of the paint that came over the edge has dried as a little blob on the edge, and it's not as noticeable on this piece in particular. However, this piece right here, you can see how that blob is hanging over the edge. So if that bugs you, you may need to trim some of those off. And while we're looking at this, this is how I plan on storing this washi tape. You can wrap it around. This is a doubled up piece of cardstock, and I've just wrapped it around and taped it to itself. I'm not sure if the tape is going to pull up any of the portion that we painted. This is just kind of a wait and see situation, so I'm going to store it like this, and I will let you know how it goes as I work on projects throughout the month. Off camera, I did create a couple of bonus items. I've got one in a much deeper purple, and then I did experiment with some glitter stickles as paint splatter, and it worked okay. And in fact, I've got some green and red going on that I might save for Christmas time. But wait, I've got one more bonus for you. Here is my craft sheet left over with all the mess on it. You can cut out these portions and maybe like make tags. In fact, I think I will do that. Also, if you leave thick puddles of paint off to the side, you should be able to peel up these puddles of paint, and then you can use them like sticker embellishments on your layouts. I have a video doing more specifically of this, and I will link you up in the corner and down below. But this is great ways to use up leftovers and still get fun embellishments. All right, here are the extra tags I die cut out of the leftover trash paper. And these are really fun, so they will definitely go into my scrapbooking kit for this month around. And in order to store these pieces, I'm just gonna take back some of that scrap that I had thrown away, lay them on here, and cover them up with the other piece. I can fold it up. Just make sure I'm folding in between pieces and not cracking pieces. And then I'll stick this in that scrap packaging from earlier. There you have it. There's a couple of ideas on how to incorporate acrylic paint into your paper crafting world. I hope you found these ideas approachable. And if you did, drop me a comment because I'd love to hear from you. I will be back soon with more crafty videos. And until then, have an artful day.